Hello and welcome. Welcome to the Wisdom for Life podcast. My name is David Baker, and we want to give you wisdom. Wisdom is knowing what to do and having the power to do it in every situation. Wisdom is the principal thing. So we want to give you some wisdom today. I have a very important subject about which to speak on depression, okay? On depression. And this will not be exhaustive, but I'm probably going to end up doing a series on this because, once I started looking at it, it is amazing how much it's needed, number one, but it's also amazing how much in the Bible you can get from it of strength and truth and life to be able to help people. So this week I got a message from someone in our church. It said, have you ever done or thought about doing a series on depression? Every Christian lady I've worked with of late has mentioned periods of depression. I've experienced it myself. They said twice this week, I had two people tell me that it just comes unexpectedly out of nowhere. They can't explain why they even feel that way. I know it's a common issue for women due to being more emotional, but I know men who struggle with it also. And so anyway, so I wanted to, that got my brain thinking about it. And so you look up depression in the Bible and it's listed 0 times, okay? Not once. That's not a Bible word, but there are a lot of other words that are. So heaviness, 14 times. By the way, you look at depression, you can get the definition I'll give you. A dictionary definition is the feeling of being extremely unhappy, a medical condition in which a person is so unhappy that they cannot live a normal life. The word depression, if you take away the prefix and suffix, it gives you that root word, press, okay? Press. You're pressed in upon, pressed down upon. Heaviness, 14 times in the Bible is mentioned it. Oppress, okay, press, oppress, 38 times. Distress, okay, the stress that comes from that, 11 times. And then 33 times distress, 11 times distressed, ED. And so there's a lot in the Bible that talks about that. Major depression, okay, it's called MDD, major depression disorder, or known as clinical depression, is characterized by at least 2 weeks of low mood, low self-esteem, loss of interest or pleasure in normally enjoyable activities, and that's listed in the DSM manual on mental disorders in there. And so when you see how many people struggle with this depression, it's amazing. At least 21 million adults in the United States had at least one major depressive episode. 21 million, the major depression, the 2-week one. And to see how many people struggle with that is just incredible. And then when people get treatment for it and what the treatment is. And most of the time it is an antidepressant. So, by the way, let me give this disclaimer. I'm not giving medical advice. Do not take medical advice. Please consult a physician before changing any medication, okay? I wanted to give that out before. So I'm not telling anyone not to do this, but it's amazing when you see how many people are on antidepressants. And so it's estimated 12.7% of the U.S. population over the age of 12 that took antidepressants in the last month. In the last month, almost 13% of all the people 12 and older took antidepressant in the last month. It's a 66% increase of people taking antidepressants from 1999 to 2014, and it's up from there. Most of these depressant things or stats came from before COVID, and we know it's gotten worse from there. They're talking about how many people have been taking antidepressants. They have it broken down by years. Ages 0 to 1 years old, 6,687. 2 to 3, 10,957. 4 to 5, 21,033. Just ages 0 to 5, 38,500 and some people are on antidepressants. Ages 0 to 5. Can you fathom that? And then in all the years, a grand total of counting senior citizens, 43,643,000 people are on antidepressants in America. That's crazy. Okay. That's crazy. I'm not giving medical advice, not telling you not to take it, but is that the best thing that can happen? Looking this up, here's 2 stories just from people. One guy named David said, Thorazine and etc. made my mother into a zombie. I did not realize this as a boy growing up. Thorazine took my mother from me. You can say I had a Stepford mother, not real. It's despicable what Big Pharma does to so many families. Here's a lady, and just her first name is Dixie. I'm not going to give her full name, but she said, I've been on some type of antidepressants for 32 years. When my oldest son was born, I now know I had postpartum depression. And my OB put me on Prozac when my son was 9 months old. I tried to commit suicide, ended up in a psychiatric unit for a month, which helped with the depression because I left there on 2 antidepressants and Xanax. I had the same psychiatrist for 20 years. He'd retired. Since then, I've seen 4 different psychiatrists, and they keep moving one to another, their own cocktail. The third doctor put me on trazodone, and I felt hungover every day. I kept telling him to take me off this drug. He kept prescribing it till I put my foot down and did some GeneSight test offered through Mayo Clinic, and trazodone was the very bottom drug in my gene makeup. Finally got off that. They put me on Efflexor XR. And again, at the bottom of the list, I complained and he discharged me. So now I go to a psychiatrist 80 miles away. My primary caregiver then just wrote some prescription drugs from the top of the list. And I can't say I'm doing fine now because at 64, I take 5 medications: Lexapro, Seroquel, Visanine, Klonopin, Tamzepam, and then I take 6 other drugs, 2 inhalers. Anyway, it's just a mess. And she ends it with, I look at that handful of pills every day and I just want to scream my head off. I'm sick of swallowing pills. And boy, is that the best way to be able to handle that? So when you look at the Bible, is there anyone in the Bible that was depressed? Anyone in the Bible that had that? For time, I'm not going to read all these, but you look at the story in 1 Kings 19 if you want to read it. Elijah just slew the prophets of Baal, and Jezebel says she's going to come after him. And he said he went a day's journey into the wilderness and came and sat down under a juniper tree, and he requested for himself that he might die, and said, it is enough now, O Lord, take away my life, for I am not better than my fathers. Okay? Would we count that as depression? And so he wanted to die. He's done. He's over. So when you look at the situation with Elijah, listen carefully, he had a physical problem. A physical problem. What was the answer to him? Angel woke him up, said, sleep and eat. Woke him up again, sleep and eat. What did he do? He needed to sleep and he needed to eat. And then he's fine. He went on in 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb, the Mount of God. So many times it is a physical problem. It's a physical problem. You need to check some things out physically to see what you can do that's going to be helpful. It's going to be helpful. By the way, in looking all this stuff up and studying these things, it's a longer section to go into. But when Elijah had just slew all these prophets, can you imagine the kind of adrenaline rush that he had going to be able to do that? To kill 450 prophets of Baal with his own person that he killed. Imagine the adrenaline it would have taken to do that. Well, adrenaline is amazing. It comes from the adrenal glands on top of the kidneys. It produces, gives your muscles a boost of energy, makes you breathe faster, increases heart rate, sends blood to your muscles, makes you sweat, stops insulin production so you can use that energy. And so it's amazing, the adrenaline. But what happens after the adrenaline rush comes the downer, comes a downer from that. And so it creates problems on the other side of it after this gigantic adrenaline rush that you had, that on the other side that causes depression. It said also this adrenaline can come not just when you need it to run away from danger or something big, but a mindful of thoughts, anxiety, and worry can also stimulate the body to release adrenaline and other stress-related hormones like cortisol. And so when you're lying in bed, you're quiet, dark room, you're thinking about all the stressors and things in your life, it can produce this adrenaline rush, and it can negatively affect your body. This chronic stress and the adrenaline rush can damage your blood vessels, increase blood pressure, elevate your risk of heart attack and stroke, cause anxiety, cause weight gain, trigger headaches, cause insomnia. All that from adrenaline rush and when you're done with that. And so how to be able to handle that. And so some of these things then it gets to be emotional. We'll talk about that. But first the physical, okay? First the physical. So he was tired. He needed to eat, and he needed to sleep. Another thing I wanted to mention, and if you want to read some things on this, and you probably already have, but to look at sugar and the danger of sugar. This is medical. It says sugar is addictive like a drug. It can cause dramatic mood swings like a drug, from hyperactivity to depression, and has withdrawal symptoms like a drug. The common combination of starch and sugar leads to a fermentation in the digestive process that breaks down to alcohol, a drug, and other toxins. Considering its adverse effects on human health, and in fact refined sugar has zero nutrients, it becomes difficult to defend the common perception of sugar as a food rather than a poison or an addictive drug. So if you want to see what sugar is doing, they say that if a person would eat a balanced, healthy diet, get off sugar, and be in the sun and have moderate exercise, the people that struggle with depression, if they'll do just that physically, depression almost goes away. Pretty amazing. So there's a lot of physical things to do. And the problem is today, you go see a doctor and say, look, I'm depressed. Okay. Many of them then just give them a pill. And is that the best way to be able to handle that? So the other thing in dealing with it, so first is the physical. Look at your sleep. Look at your sugar. Look at your food you're eating. Look at the adrenaline that you're getting and the rush from that. And so eat right, get some sleep, and get in the sun. Okay? Those are healthy, natural, good things that we all need for our life. I was talking to my wife, and one of the teachers in college, Marlene Evans, would tell people that, look, sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is go take a nap. All right, to go take a nap and to rest because your body is a mess. So the next thing is to rely on God for your emotional issues. I said I think the biggest problem in depression is physical, but some of those physical things come from not handling the mental things the right way. So we're laying in bed, we're thinking about all our stress and problems, and now your body's releasing adrenaline, which is going to be able to eventually mess you up and create health issues. You don't need to be feeding yourself this adrenaline all the time, and it's coming. Why? Because we're not relying on God to help our emotional issues. Okay, listen to these verses, and I'll give the reference, and if you want to write these down, if you struggle with depression, and take these verses and write them down and read through them when you're going through that, it's amazing how it'll help you. Isaiah 26:3, thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee. You want to keep yourself in perfect peace? Perfect peace, straight line, not up and down, not back and forth. What is it? Keep your mind on Jesus. Keep your mind on Jesus. The problems, the emotional, the issues, the things in which you're struggling, hey, my mind's on Jesus. He keeps you in what? Perfect peace. God tells us the peace that passeth all understanding. How are you okay with what you have going on? It's the peace that passeth all understanding. Understanding doesn't make sense that we're at peace, but we are because we're trusting God. God's going to take care of it. Okay? 1 Peter 5:7, casting all your care upon him, for he cares for you. Why are you carrying your burdens? Cast them on Jesus. Psalm 34, verse 17, the righteous cry, and the Lord heareth, and delivereth them out of their troubles. Wow, the righteous cry. Crying is a mechanism physically that God gave us to release the endorphins and things that we need to help handle. Weeping may endure for a night, but what? Joy cometh in the morning. The righteous cry, and the Lord heareth, and delivereth them out of their troubles. In our society today, so many times, don't cry, don't shed a tear. No, it's God's outlet. It's like the releasing the pressure valve, and God does that. He made it that way, and you feel better afterwards chemically because your body released the things that it needed to be able to deal with that. Isaiah 41:10, fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee, yea, I will help thee, yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. Boy, what comfort, what strength we get from that. Why do I need to worry about this? Why do I need to fear? God's going to take care of me. I just need to trust God and put God first. Proverbs 3:5-6, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not to thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. Why do I need to worry about these emotional problems? I need to put God first, and God will take care of that. Philippians 4, verse 6, be careful for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. Be careful for nothing. Don't worry about that. Pray, give it to God. God will take care of it. All of Psalm 23, but this verse, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Wow, why don't we go to God when we have our emotional problems, when we're upset, when we have issues, when things happen? Why don't we go to God with that? Proverbs 12:25, heaviness in the heart of man maketh it stoop, but a good word maketh it glad. It's amazing how a good word can lift the heaviness of the heart that we have. Psalm 9:9, the Lord also will be a refuge from the oppressed, a refuge in time of trouble. When we are having life issues and emotional issues, we need to go to God. God can help us. God can take care of that. Psalm 9, verse 8, the Lord also will be a refuge for the oppressed. I just read that one. Then 2 Timothy 1:7, for God hath not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. That's what God wants to have. No fear, power, love, sound mind. Imagine how much physically better off we're going to be if we live in the mindset of power, love, and a sound mind instead of living in this spirit of fear, the spirit of fear. And the last one in this section, Psalm 34, verse 18, the Lord is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart and saveth such as be of a contrite spirit. Hey, how God can help us and take care of us when we have that broken heart and a contrite spirit. We need to trust God and go to God and get with God. He can help us when we have that. So the first thing I said, I believe a lot of the depression we have is physical issues. Okay, be careful of your sugar, food you eat, the adrenaline rush, and all that. Number two, rely on God to help us with the emotional issues. Number three, spend your time helping others and not thinking about yourself. Spend your time helping others and not thinking about yourself. Matthew 11:28-30, beautiful. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden. Wow. What is that? Labor, heavy laden? That's burden. That's depressed. And I'll give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and you shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Don't have time to go into a lot of this, but basically it's this. Come to God when you are labor, when you're heavy laden, when you have burdens. Take God's yoke. What is that? Go help somebody else. Go witness to them. Go love them. Go care about them. Go visit them. I had two widow ladies early on in our church, and anytime I was down, discouraged, depressed, I'd go see them. How come? Because seeing them would encourage me. I helped them. They loved me coming by, but they helped me more than I even helped them. They were sweet. One lady named Zelda Swan, another lady named Sarah Duncan. Sarah Duncan is like an adopted grandmother, and we named our oldest daughter after her. What a beautiful thing. I would go and help them, and they would help me. I go to the jail to help those guys, but they ended up helping me because I got to help them. When you forget yourself and you go help someone else pick up the Lord's burden, it's amazing how your burden is not even there. It's not even going to bother you. By schedule, by character, make yourself go help somebody else. When you do, it'll lift you up. It'll encourage you. It'll help you. Years ago, I had a lady in our church, and we'll go through the issues, but you name like really bad problems, she had them and keep on going. She was beside herself, thought she was going to have a nervous breakdown. And I said, hey, I can help you if you'll let me. Oh, okay. And she's crying in my office. And I said, now I'm going to tell you what to do, but I don't want you to argue with me. I just want you to go do it. Okay. Oh, okay. So I told her, I said, I want you to go home. I want you to make some cookies. She looked at me just like with hate. I said, you said you wouldn't argue. You said you'd do it. Go and make some cookies. Then go to this nursing home around here and ask the lady at the front desk if there's anyone who doesn't get a lot of visits, who's not diabetic, and give the cookies to them and hang out and talk to them. And she tried to argue. I said, well, you said you would do it. And so she left. The next day I saw her, but she didn't talk to me. And a couple of days after that, she finally said, okay, I got to tell you what happened. She said, I loved it. I went to help them, but they helped me. And God lifted her burden and helped her through that. Take my yoke upon you. Go help somebody else for Jesus' sake, and he will lift you and help you with your burdens. The last one is this, another whole story and time to go into, but one of the worst stories ever was David. Came back, he and his men, the place had been burned, the wives and children had been taken, all their stuff had been stolen, and now the men wanted to stone David because they said it's his fault. How would you be right then? Your wife's gone, your kids are gone, all your stuff is gone, it's burned, and now your friends, your men say, well, let's kill you. What did David do? He encouraged himself in the Lord. He was greatly distressed. Okay, greatly distressed is the word it uses. That depressed, he's got this stress and pressure on him, greatly distressed. But the Bible said David encouraged himself in the Lord. And he asked God, God, what do you want me to do? He inquired of the Lord, saying, shall I pursue after this troop, and shall I overtake them? And he answered him, pursue, for thou shalt surely overtake them, and without they'll recover all. And that's what happened. They recovered all. Go to God and say, God, what do you want me to do? God, what do you want me to do? How do you want me to handle this? Shall I pursue? Pursue. Recover all. Praise the Lord. Hey, when you see what happened, they got all the wives back, all the kids back, all their stuff back, and a lot more spoil that they got from other people. And now it's all theirs. Think they're happy that day? He went from almost getting stoned and being greatly distressed to recovering all plus even more. How come? Because he went to God. Encouraged himself in the Lord. God, what should I do? What do you want me to do? And he did it. Okay. This thing of depression, there's so much in this. When you look at the Bible, all the verses of heaviness and distress and oppress and all the verses, there's so much in the Bible about that. But God has the answers to every problem we go through in life. Okay. Is the best thing for you to be on medication for the rest of your life, trying to fix a mood that many times creates more problems? They had so many people who got worse after they got on antidepressants. They had to start putting a warning label on there that this medication can cause suicidal thoughts. Wow, I was depressed before and now I want to kill myself. It's not a good thing. Again, I'm not giving medical advice. I'm not telling you what to do. But if you went to your doctor and said, I want to learn to handle my problems in a different way. Could you help me wean off this and handle my problems with God and with help? You go to a Christian doctor who can help you to do that, to wean off safely, and to put these emotional things that helps for people in your life, and see if your life's not a whole lot better, and not to have to struggle with those, because you're getting the strength from the Lord who's delivering you out of your troubles and giving you that comfort in the middle of all the things that we're going through. God can do that. We've been through some tough times in life, and my schedule, I did exactly what I just told you to do, and it's amazing on the other side how God encouraged and helped us to make it through that. I encourage you to do the same. Okay? If you got any question about that, feel free to email me, askpastorbaker@gmail.com, and I would love to be able to help you. So, hey, God bless you. Take care, and we'll talk to you next time. God bless.